Welcome to this interview by Project Cargo Weekly, and our special guest of honor today is the branch manager of Leth agencies in Copenhagen, Denmark, Mr. Jacob Guldager. First of all, Jacob, very welcome to this interview.
Thank you very much, Bo. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Tell our viewers a little bit about your shipping background. How did you get into shipping in the first place, leading up to your current position, please?
I've been in shipping for, since 1990.
Okay.
So some years there. I started working for a line agent in Aarhus called Sjøren Hogman, working as a line agent for Netloyd and MISC, Malaysian Shipping Corporation. And then after having trained there for a couple of years, I started with Unifeeder in Aarhus,
okay,
doing some short sea shipping for them. And after a few years there, they sent me to Norway, to Oslo, to work for their branch office in Oslo. And then after a few years in Oslo, I then joined Leth Suez Transit back in 1999. And then in 2005, I relocated to Copenhagen, where I opened this branch office for Leth in Copenhagen.
Okay.
And from here, I'm now today managing the Suez Canal, Panama Canal, Bosporus, Danish Straits. Yeah, that's where we are represented right now.
Okay, that's a very interesting shipping background, and I was also educated in Aarhus working for Ben Line. So I think in our young days, our slimmer days, for me at least, we probably have some of the same friends, I can imagine.
May have crossed that, yes.
Jacob, tell me, of course, especially given, I should not say given when I mention ever given, but given what has just recently happened in the Suez Canal, what does a company being a Suez Canal or Canal Straits agent do? Can you elaborate to our viewers on that? What is your main job, so to speak?
The main job and first and foremost focus is to get a vessel through for our customer without any delay.
Right.
It's as simple as that.
Okay. And how do you go about that? I mean, there are many who call themselves, let's say, Suez or other canal transit agents, but how do you go about it, and what makes you special on that? Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Leth agencies? There must be some background here. Yes,
the company Leth started back in 1924.
Okay.
Working out of Egypt, or in Egypt, as a coal trader or coal supplier, actually.
Okay.
That time it was the fuel of the vessels was coal, and there was a Norwegian guy who traded that specifically to vessels sailing through the Suez Canal.
Okay.
When I started back in 1999. We still use telex, and just telling this because it's quite a fun fact part of the story. So we still use the telex, and the callback sign, if you recall that, there was a callback sign on telexes, was actually coal Leth.
Okay.
So it goes back to that time, to 1924, and eventually, after having traded coal for some years, it turned into be shipping agency for Norwegian shipping owners, mainly in the beginning.
Okay.
And then it was taken out to a broader public, and today we are the largest Suez Canal agent.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that means ship owners will come to you, they will make a long-term deal with you, and you will facilitate what needs to be done to pass any canal timely.
Yes. Then for the Suez Canal, it's about how much is the cost for going through. Specifically for project cargo, the price can go up.
Yeah.
If you are carrying special cargo on deck, it has different dimensions. It's not always the same price.
Okay.
It's really a headache for many of the players in the market here today to calculate the price. Here we offer, of course, based on our experience, our best guesstimates on the price.
Right.
And since we have many previous cases, we pretty sure what it means and how much the cost would be. And that is important when the cargo is being fixed, so you can rely on the price. We would always try to say there's a best case scenario, there's a realistic scenario, and there's a worst case scenario. Right. So it's about controlling the worst case scenario.
Right.
And because if you suddenly end up with a price $30,000 or $50,000 higher than you expected, and you based your calculation on, then you most likely hate yourself for taking that cargo. So, it is definitely something that a good agent would try to control as much as possible. It needs to be realistic.
Okay, so that means this is quite a complex operation, but since you have a history dating back to 1924 doing this kind of transit, it means you must have excellent contacts in place locally, because there's only one canal authority and to whom you are, let's say, subject to their whims, right?
We're just an agent, basically, for the Suez Canal Authority. So the Suez Canal Authority has a principle. They speak to the clients through the agents.
Okay.
There are about 140 agents available in Suez.
Okay.
So to become an agent, you have to obtain a license.
Okay.
A license to take small vessels through is up to 250,000. Then you have license up to $500,000 and then up to $1 million. So of course, if you have the big vessels like we do, it's required to have the biggest license up to $1 million.
Okay.
And that is basically what makes you makes the foundation for being an agent. And then you work it from there. Then people inside the Suez Canal Authority try to calculate as I said, the most realistic case, but also the worst case scenario, and what could possibly happen. How could we? It's about talking about expectations with the customers, so that we do not promise too much, because you can also have an agent saying, no, it's no problem. I'll get it through the Suez Canal free of charge. Well, that's fine, but that's not realistic. But it's a good selling point. At that point in time, it's a good selling point, because that's when you fix the cargo.
Yeah.
But I guess any responsible trader would like to have the realistic price, and maybe also the worst case scenario price. Yeah.
I think it's like with every business, that there are always, let's say, hillbillies that try their best to secure business one way or the other. You have a history since 1924. You have really some background that you can be trusted, I believe, right?
This is at least this is our bread and butter. This is what we do.
Exactly.
So of course it's important for us to know whom we're dealing with, and as always, the Suez Canal, any vessel going through the Suez Canal is 100% prepaid.
Right.
So if we end up in a situation saying this vessel has an estimated cost of 100,000, and the Suez Canal Authority ends up charging or pricing her after the transit to 150,000.
Yeah.
Then we have got $100,000 from the charterer.
Yeah.
But our account with the Suez Canal Authority is deducted 150.
Right.
So it's our headache to go back to the charterer and say, it's another 50,000, please pay.
Yeah.
So we'll get ourselves into trouble if we don't do our homework.
Right.
So that's also a part of this game plan.
Understand.
And then you asked to what makes an agent special, and I'll just take a brief note on that, because the Suez Canal Authority are fully aware of the alternative routing around Cape of Good Hope as an alternative, especially after Ever Given's grounding last week. We now see container vessels going around Cape of Good Hope. It's much more expensive. It takes longer time, but they know the ETA. So That was the evaluation from the big container lines at that point. But when you, or if you as a charterer are planning your voyage, saying, I'm coming from Singapore to New York, very simple. I have two options, Suez Canal or Cape of Good Hope. Then the Suez Canal authorities say, okay, we know it's cheaper for you to sail around Cape of Good Hope. You don't have to pay $200,000 in canal fee. And then they would say, okay, let us give you an offer, a rebate on the canal tolls. And that is where we as an agent would go in and negotiate this rebate on behalf of the charterer, together with the Suez Canal authorities, say, this is a scenario, vessel is coming from Singapore, she's going over to New York, she's taking bunkers at Cape Town or Singapore or whatever, or if she goes via Suez, she will take it at Gibraltar or at Suez. But the price for the longer voyage around Cape of Good Hope would be XYZ. Then Suez Canal authorities say, okay, we'll grant her a 25% reduction.
Okay.
And if you then are able not to stop on this voyage to do other cargo operations, you will actually get your 25% rebate or premium after having completed the New York voyage here and documented that you actually were in Singapore and you actually were in New York, and you have the cargo manifests and statement from the port authorities in both ports that you actually came there with this amount of cargo, and you did not stop under your way in other ports to pick up any cargo. Then you'll get your money back.
Okay.
So that is also something we do quite a lot.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I suppose if you are a regular recurring customer that comes every week, or, there are these liner carriers that they call all the time, I suppose then there's some kind of a quantity rebate or regularity rebate, like we know it from all other kinds of business, right?
You know it from Panama Canal, basically, right, but you don't know it from Suez. So we usually take the example, Maersk, most likely their biggest customer in Suez Canal, not $1 in rebate.
Really?
As a volume rebate.
Right.
Not as a volume rebate, but as they do get rebates if they route their, they have also long hauls from Far East over up to Europe or over to the States. And here they don't stop in the Mediterranean, and they just go directly over to the US Gulf, and there they can obtain rebates as well if they go via Suez Canal. But it's not a volume incentive.
Okay.
There is one program in place, and that's for LNG cargo.
All right.
That's
that's very special, of course.
Yeah.
So depending on the type of ship, depending on the type of the ship's cargo, you mentioned project cargo vessels. They have a lot of awkward sizes on deck. You have container ships, you have LNG, you have cruise, Navy. There are different kinds of rates for different types of ships. It's not just one ship going through and that's it, right?
That's correct. Container vessels are the most expensive ones.
Right.
Yeah.
This is very, very interesting because especially with the grounding of the Ever Given, I think the whole world got their eyes opened to understand how did they get their Samsung TV to hang in their living room. It comes from shipping, but we all have taken it for granted. We take the seafarer for granted. We take shipping for granted. But nobody really thought about it until this happened, I think. Yeah. Is that your feeling too in the market?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, having worked with this in this position here for 22 years, I always have to explain what I do when I'm at the social gatherings. No one knows what is the Suez Canal. $1 million to get through the Suez Canal for a container vessel? You gotta be crazy. Things like this.
Yes.
So it was kind of a special week for us, having seeing or watching from the side that being a Suez Canal nerd actually got a bit sexy last week. So, but having said that, getting the supply chain on the agenda was for me the most important thing.
Yeah.
Suez Canal groundings, we're quite used to it.
Right.
But of course, this one was very special, and it did disrupt, a lot of things, and will disrupt a lot of things onwards with port congestions, etc. From now on and in the next couple of weeks. But I'm sure it will level out quite soon.
Yeah.
But what is not leveling out is actually the seafarers on board the vessel. They are still paying the highest price for the corona disruption, actually, because they're not able to be repatriated from their jobs.
Now that leads me to another thing. I come myself from a seafaring family, with my dad being a retired captain now, and I know from firsthand how hard it can be. Of course, for some seafarers, they have ability to come home earlier than instead of longer times, but like you mentioned with Corona, it's we are putting a big strain on these people who actually protect our supply chain. And I understand you were one of the founders, or let's say the initiators to the Neptune Declaration. Can you explain to our viewers what is the Neptune Declaration in essence?
Not founders, but definitely signers.
Signers,
yes. So we have signed the Neptune Declaration.
Okay.
The Neptune Declaration, in short, is that maritime players from across the world have signed a declaration where they declare that they will do whatever possible for each and every company to minimize the impact of Corona for each and every seafarer. So how do you do that as a company? Basically, you're just playing by the rules. But for me, it's important for our agency here in Denmark, when we are doing crew changes at Skår or Kalundborg or Copenhagen, that we always seek the best possible option for the seafarers to be repatriated within the options that, for instance, Denmark gives as a country, where unlike other countries, Denmark has actually shown a goodwill here, that it's possible being a Filipino or Indian seafarer on board a vessel to be repatriated in Denmark and fly back from Copenhagen or Aalborg Airport with the necessary permissions, stamps and Schengen visas, and etc. So Denmark has actually done a lot to make this possible. Also, you can actually fly in from the Philippines or from India to Copenhagen, obtain a Schengen visa valid for 15 days, and move on to another Schengen port from Copenhagen Airport. So it doesn't necessarily need your ship to pass the Danish Straits. You can actually just fly or continue your voyage after having been stamped, PCR tested, or whatever is necessary for that particular airline company.
I'm very happy as a Dane. Of course, I'm very happy to hear that. And Maritime is close to us, Danes. We are old Vikings, but it's good to hear that Denmark is at the forefront. And I think also freight forwarders and cargo owners, shippers also have a role to play by deciding which ship owner they take, that they would know that a ship owner, either they treat their seafarers properly or they don't. Put a little pressure on, I suppose.
Yeah. And trying not to be too much of a Dane here, but of course, I have to appreciate and recognize the job that has been done here in Denmark. The facility I mentioned here by flying into Copenhagen is actually mainly for Danish companies and Danish flagged ships.
Right.
So of course, if you are choosing, if it's necessary for the freight payers to talk about sustainability and good ethics, then of course a flag could be one part of that.
Yeah.
Of course, I know money talks. it's evident it does. But if you could choose the flag, of course there are other ways, other flags that treats its seafarers differently. But for the Danish flag, they have made some good options, and I think also vaccination may become part of the Danish flag, but we don't know yet. We don't.
Okay, most interesting. Just to get back to the organization of Leth agencies, you mentioned you have your headquarters in Norway. Where else do you have, let's say, offices besides the branch where you are the manager in Denmark?
We have in Singapore,
okay,
and in Egypt, the Port Said, Suez, Alexandria, and Cairo.
Okay, so the main straits is the Singapore or Malacca Straits, the Panama, the Suez, Bosporus, and the Danish Straits. That's where you are, let's say, primarily active.
Yeah, in Panama and Bosporus, we don't have our own offices, but we do a really close relationship with the best of the locals there.
Okay, how many? If we take the Suez Canal, as it's on everyone's lips at the moment, how many ships would you say, knock on wood, that you are responsible for transiting in a year?
How many vessels?
Yeah, how many vessels?
Yeah, 6 every day.
Oh, 6 every day.
So it's a little bit more than 2,200.
Yeah. Wow, I was thinking 100. Okay, so 6 every day. Okay. Yeah. Well, as they say in shipping, Jacob, we learn every day, don't we?
Yes. It's a market share of 11-12%.
Okay,
that we carry. Yes,
fantastic. It's really fantastic. Another thing I've heard from let's say people who were joking a bit, and of course we saw a lot of jokes in the wake of the Ever Given grounding. We saw, among others, some Marlboro cartons along the canal, the so-called Marlboro Canal, as it was called. I suppose that this thing about giving gifts to the pilots and so on, those days are also in the past, aren't they now?
Oh, interesting subject you bring up here, because we are actually active member of the MACN, Maritime Anti-Corruption Network.
Yes,
and we are, offering to our customers that we can send on an observant or a translator on board the vessel during the transit to try to minimize the requests, basically, for cigarettes or other gifts. Unfortunately, I have to say that due to Corona, this service has been suspended because you are not allowed to go on board any vessel bringing on, Corona with you. So, but we are observing things and making reports whenever a captain reports back to us that he had to provide 50 cartons of cigarettes. Of course, we go to the relevant authorities, whom we know good, and say, is this really 2021? 50 cartons of cigarettes, and then investigations are made and try to take it back. But of course, I've also been on board many vessels in my time. As an agent, going on board a vessel in Port of Aarhus, it was quite normal. You did a good job. Here's a bottle of booze, and here's a carton of cigarette. Thank you very much, agent. And no one said anything. But the difference here could be that I didn't ask for it.
Right. Exactly.
Whereas in Egypt, it's definitely a problem. So that the seafarers are referring to the Suez Canal as the Marlboro Canal. That, of course, we've heard that, and it's evident. And so we, as a company, as a responsible agent, have signed up with MACN to try to deal with the matter. Not from the ground. I don't think that's where it needs to be addressed. But it also needs to be addressed there, but it also needs to be addressed at the highest levels.
Right.
And here we can maybe make a difference every now and then.
No, I think you're right. There's a fine distinction here, as Mao Zedong, the famous Chinese leader, once said, "In the cleanest water live no fish." And I don't think any normal business person have a problem if a job is well performed to give a small gift or whatever. That's not a problem. But you don't ask for it. You don't make it a habit. That's the real world. But it's good to hear that you're part of the MACN. I know that they are quite active in ports also around the world and stuff.
Yeah.
So, right, coming to my final questions here, Jacob, it must be, I mean, with 6 ships a day, I can imagine that you must have quite an interesting job in front of you, and especially now with eyes on you now, isn't it?
There was quite a lot of attention last week, and what others may not know, we had planned this interview a week ago,
right.
But I had to postpone you because it was busy days during Easter time, and still is, because the backlog still hasn't been dealt with. So we're trying to report as much as we can, to first and foremost to our customers, but of course also to other people who are interested in what goes on there. And we're updating our Twitter profile, our LinkedIn profile, and we are sending out newsletters with the latest. We have to keep in mind that it's a waterway.
Yes.
The Suez Canal, and groundings happens.
Of course.
Yes, it cannot be avoided.
No.
The Ever Given was very, very special case.
Yeah.
But still, 10 to 15 of such type of vessels are actually sailing through the Suez Canal every day. So talking about that the canal needs to be expanded to prevent this from happening.
No.
You have to ask yourself this question. I mean, well, it has not happened like that for many, many years.
Yeah.
Yes, the vessel has become bigger. That's also evident. But many vessels every day, similar size, are transiting the Suez Canal without any problems.
But this is the typical we hear from let's say what I call the desk journalists who never saw a ship, or who report from home, who's never been on board, who are not living in the real world. It's like you don't stop flying because you had an airplane crash last week, right? It's the kind of people also have to be aware of what they read and actually understand that the best alternative is the Suez Canal. We never think about, when we don't hear of anything, then we don't pay it no mind. But now suddenly this happened, and everyone's attention is on it. So
you're right.
Complex world, and we journalists, I cannot say everyone, but many of us should actually visit the places we talk about more than talk about them when we don't visit them. I think that would help.
I can only say that for this particular one, there was a lot of I hate the word, but especially the guy who said it, but fake news. But there was a lot of wrong information. Simply.
Yes.
Out there, and that made a lot of confusion about it. So we tried to concentrate on what we knew and not to speculate too much. But at least to say that we know people are saying that there's something called an Asian canal or an old canal, and the small vessels can just take that route. But it didn't exist. It doesn't exist. There's no old canal. Come on.
But it's good we get these facts out, so Joe and Joanna public around the world can get the real news instead of big scary headlines. So
that's correct.
But as we all know in journalism, scary headlines and problems sell more newspapers than when things are going good, right? So
that is correct.
Jacob, I really want to say many thanks to you for, first of all, taking your time to join this interview in this let's say pressed situation that you still are in. And it's also enlightened, I believe, most of our viewers, and certainly myself, in what you actually do in Leth agencies. Leth in a Danish word means easy, but I think easy agencies is not the correct translation for your job.
No. Well,
so I want to say formally many thanks to you, Jacob.
Thank you very much for calling and taking up this.
You're most welcome. And to all our viewers, listeners, readers around the world, this was yet another great interview by Project Cargo Weekly and our special guest of honor, Mr. Jacob Guldager, the branch manager of Leth agencies in Copenhagen, Denmark. Stay tuned for more interviews in the near future. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anders Dagfeldt from Leth Danish Straits. Today I'd like to talk to you about one of our core services, which is crew changes. Right now there's a lot of focus on crew having to have a Schengen visa being able to travel to a vessel. In Denmark we have the possibility of arranging an entry permit on arrival, allowing the joiners to travel on an OK to board, saving the time of otherwise having to apply for a visa at the embassy, meaning we can arrange the crew change with very short notice down to 24 to 48 hours. The same would go for the off-signers if not holding a Schengen visa. We would also be able to arrange an exit permit for them, being able to disembark the vessel directly and travel home. We offer crew changes at all Danish ports. The 3 key locations are Skåre Roads, Kalundborg Roads and Copenhagen Roads. We are today at Aalborg Airport, which is the closest airport for when conducting crew changes at Skåre. When the crew arrives at the airport, we will have a dedicated driver ready to pick them up and take them to the vessel or the hotel. If accommodation is needed in order to match the vessel's ETA, the airport hotel is very closely situated to the airport terminal, where the seafarer can stay and relax and await the arrival of his vessel. On arrival at Skåre, the crew will board the launch boat that will sail them out to the vessel. With the same launch boat, we can also arrange supplies and other technical deliveries. It takes about 30 minutes to 1 hour to sail out to the vessel, either at anchorage or while the vessel is slowly underway. Off-signers will disembark with the same launch. Everything is timely coordinated to minimize the further schedule of the vessel. Thank you for your kind attention. We look forward to handling your next crew change in the Danish Straits.